Hi Booktube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Welcome to my July 2023 TBR. Sort of, my events TBR. You guys know I don't do a monthly TBR anymore. I do weekly, but I do like to do these monthly ones talking about different events that are happening in and around Booktube. So first of all, I just want to apologize for not getting any videos out over the last few days. I had posted in my community tab that I was working on Sunday, and my plan had been to film my weekly wrap-up after work, but I was exhausted. Garrett and I ended up going out. I ended up hitting up the thrift store and buying some books. Stay tuned for book haul this Thursday. And yeah, so that's what happened there. And then with my Monday video, my Harlequin project video, that is being very much revamped. I am super excited about it. It makes a lot more sense for my book collection. So stay tuned for that video coming on Friday. Now, as for my wrap up for last week, I'm going to put it together with my wrap up for this coming week. So on Sunday, you're going to get 2 weeks worth of wrap up, essentially. So there's going to be a lot of books that I'm going to be talking about, you guys. So anyway, on to the events for the month of July. So there are two. One of them I am co-hosting, and that's not the one I'm going to talk about in this video, because I'm going to be sharing the books that I'm reading for that week to week as we go through the month, because I have a huge stack of books for that. And that is, of course, the Retro Romance Readathon, the Christmas in July edition that I am co-hosting with the lovely Storm over at Storm Reads. Link to her channel in the description box below. So yeah, like I said, I'll be reading those throughout the month. Now the thing is that the Retro Romance Readathon is only taking place for a week. I think the 9th to the 16th of July, and Storm's birthday is right in between there. So that's why she picked those dates, which is fantastic. Great way to celebrate your birthday as far as I'm concerned. But Storm and myself have both said that we're probably going to be reading these books all month long. So again, I will be talking about them as we go through the month of July. So I wanted to kind of take this video to talk about 4 books that I have on my list to read for another Booktube event happening in July, which is Booktube at War. So I believe this was created by a viewer of Michael K. Vaughan's channel, if I'm remembering correctly. And I'm super excited about this. Now, at first when I heard about it, I thought, oh gosh, I don't want to read books about war. That's depressing. But and I mean, even though I do love historical fiction, I am a huge fan of historical fiction, I was just kind of like, I don't know. So I started doing some research because I heard about this months ago. And I started doing some research and I came across a bunch of books and I'm like, okay, these sound really good. So I am going to participate. So 3 of the books, I'm going to be talking about 4 books in this video. Three of the books are historical fiction novels. One is a historical romance. So, you know, I can't stray far from my romance roots, if you will. But the great thing about this is that I actually picked 4 different wars. So there's different time periods that are going to be represented in each of these books, which I think is going to be really fun, because typically now when you look at historical fiction, a lot of them are taking place during World War II. I mean, the market is saturated with World War II historical fiction novels, and I wanted to get away from that. Even though there's so many of them and I'm sure they're really good, I wanted to represent some different time periods, some different types of people, you know, things like that. So yeah, I am super, super excited. So I believe the stipulations, and I don't know if all these books are going to make the stipulations, but this is my way of participating anyway, and I think just talking about it is great. You can read fiction or nonfiction, whatever your heart desires, but they have to take place during the war. So it's not like it takes place a year after or 2 years before. They have to take place during the war, and actually the war has to be featured in the book. So it's not like, the World War II is happening in Europe, and then the action in the book is all taking place in America, for example. Like, that's not what this is kind of looking at. It's like books that take place. And I'm sure when the creator originally thought about it, it was kind of more like nonfiction type war novels is what, maybe they were getting at. But I'm going with fiction for all of my picks. So let me share them with you guys, because I am super excited. So it says, the first book that I have here is The Thread Collectors by Shauna J. Edwards and Allison Richmond. So this is a book that takes place during the Civil War. So very excited about this one. This one came out, I think, last year, and it looks really good. So I am going to read a little bit about each of these books just to give you guys some more information. And I do have it written down here because I didn't want to mess up too many of the details. So we have 1863. In a small Creole cottage in New Orleans, an ingenious young black woman named Stella embroiders intricate maps on repurposed cloth to help enslaved men flee and join the Union Army. Bound to a man who would kill her if he knew of these activities, Stella has to hide not only her efforts, but her love for William, a black soldier and a brilliant musician. Meanwhile, in New York City, a Jewish woman stitches a quilt for her husband, who is stationed in Louisiana with the Union Army. Between meetings, Lily rolls bandages and crafts quilts with her sewing circle for other soldiers too, hoping for their safe return home. But when months go by without word from her husband, Lily resolves to make the perilous journey south to search for him. Does that not sound so good? When I saw this one, like I said, it came out last year. It immediately went on my list to read. And then when I started thinking about Booktube at War and the books I wanted to read for it, this one jumped out at me. I am very excited about this one. The next one takes place during the Spanish War and World War II, from my understanding. And this is The Swiss Nurse by Mario Escobar. So this one is a very new release. I happened to see this one on the book table over at Walmart. And I saw the cover. The cover intrigued me, so I picked it up. I kind of looked at it and I said, yes, this is getting added to the list. So, based on a true story of an astonishingly brave woman who saved hundreds of mothers and their children during the Spanish Civil War and World War II, Elizabeth left Switzerland in 1837 to aid children orphaned during the Spanish Civil War. Now her work has led her to France, where she's determined to provide expectant mothers and their unborn children of refuge amid one of the worst humanitarian crises of the 20th century. The fact this is based on a true story sounds so interesting. I'm really, really looking forward to this one. Next up, I had to kind of go back to my Canadian roots. I am Canadian. And talk about a war that part of it took place here that affected people living in this case, it was in the Maritimes, along with like parts of Maine. So like that area of the world. And this one sounds really good. Now, this author writes a lot of historical fiction set in Canada, but this is the one that kind of jumped out to me. And we have Promises to Keep by Genevieve Graham. This is the French and Indian War, which is the North American theater of the 7 Years' War. So this is like the 1750s. We're going back in time for this one. Young, beautiful Emile lives with her family among the Acadians in Nova Scotia, content with her life on their idyllic farm, along with their friends, the neighboring Indian tribe. The community believes that they can remain on neutral political ground, despite the rising tides of war. But peace can be fragile, and sometimes faith is not enough. When the Acadians refuse to pledge allegiance to the British in their war against the French, the army invades Grande Prairie, claims the land, and rips the people from their homes. Amelia's entire family, alongside the other Acadians, are exiled to ports unknown aboard dilapidated ships. So this was the migration of the Acadians from like I said, the Maritimes, Nova Scotia, areas of Quebec, I believe, down to New Orleans, or to Louisiana, which is where you get a lot of the Cajuns. That's where that kind of came from. They are descendants of Canadians that were forced out of Canada, parts of Canada, down. That's my. It's been many years since I took since I took a high school history class. So I hope I'm getting that correct. I believe that's what it's all about. So yeah. That is one that I'm really looking forward to. Again, some Canadian history. There is a romance in here with a British soldier that I believe that our main character has. So yeah, I am looking forward to this one very much. And last but not least, it's my historical romance novel. And this is going to be a reread for me because the second I heard about Booktube at War, this is the first book that popped into my head because it does take place actually during the war itself, with our male lead potentially being like he's going to go serve on the front lines, essentially. So, Diary of a War Bride by Laurie Robinson. This is going to be a group read as well. So, if anyone is interested in buddy reading this or reading this in the month of July, no specific dates, just read it in July. I'll post a link to it on my Discord. You can come and share your thoughts about it. I gave this 5 stars the first time I read it a couple of years ago, or a number of years ago. I'm hoping I love it just as much the second go around. That's always something that makes me nervous when I'm talking about rereading a book, it's like, especially one that you really loved, will you love it as much a second go round? And yeah, this book is so good. Again, it's a World War II story. And I'm just going to, again, read just a little bit off the back here for you. Dear Diary, despite the war raging around me, I find I can't stop thinking about the American officer, Sergeant Dale Johnson. I've never known anyone as brave, kind, and handsome, but I promised myself I wouldn't care this much about a man again, especially when he could be transferred at any time. Yet that only makes me want to relish our time together. Now, fighting my heart feels like the biggest battle. What I love about this book, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, I'm sure, if you guys have been watching my channel for any length of time, this book reads as if you were in your grandmother's or great-grandmother's attic and you opened up a chest and you found her diary from World War II. This is the story. This is something that could have happened to anybody. It's about an a British land girl and an American officer, and they meet because he is stationed near her small, like, town out in the countryside, if you will, and she's used to the planes flying overhead and things like that, and they end up meeting. She doesn't want any part of him because, again, as it said, he could be transferred at any time. She doesn't want her heart to get broken, but of course there is going to be a romance there, and it was just so true to life. Like I said, like, if someone had sat down and said that this is how their grandparents met or their great-grandparents met, completely plausible. You know, unlike a lot of romance stories where, okay, he's a billionaire and she's the maid, and you know what I mean? And not that I'm discounting those. Those books are fantastic as well. But the fact that you're getting a book that is so true to life, or could be so true to life, and it probably happened to a lot of couples, it just makes my heart happy. And this book was really, really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to revisiting this one very much. And again, I plan on doing a group read if you guys want to participate. So anyway, everybody, that's all I have for today's video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you're going to be participating in Booktube at War. Are there any books that you have on your list to read? Also, will you be participating in the Retro Romance Readathon? I'm very much looking forward to that as well. Kind of two opposite readathons in a way, one about war, one about romance, but everything is great. Books are wonderful, and yeah, let me know what you guys are going to be reading. And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.